For these next few moments, I'm going to ask for you to forget you're on these beautiful campus grounds in Victoria, and allow me to take you on a journey, not just to the heart of the Amazon, but through a lush landscape of self-rediscovery. The snaking river system of the Ecuadorian Amazon has more shades of green than I ever knew to exist, from light shimmering brush to dark dense vines and everything in between. For me, the most beautiful of all of these tones was the luminescent green surface of the Napo River, a tributary of the mighty Amazon itself. In a 12-seater canoe, filled mostly with global leadership learners from railroads, we were making our way towards a small village up the river, but we were caught right in the middle. Battling the strong current of the Napo, with every approach and every angle we tried, we remained hanging in suspension. The river was shallow, perhaps because it was the very end of the dry season, or maybe because of some broader environmental trend. But whatever the case, eventually half of us actually had to leave the boat and step onto a pebbly sandbar to temporarily lighten the canoe's load. Yet, this state of limbo persisted. In the stillness of that pause, I recognized the symbolism of the moment. The vessel's struggle in the shallow waters of the Napo River was a reflection of the stagnation in my own life. I was just as stuck as that slender red canoe, and I simply did not know why. As a youth worker with an Indigenous services agency, my commitment to youth is absolute. But in that stuck moment, I sensed a void, a piece that was missing and preventing me from truly giving everything I had to the youth. Meanwhile, I was starting to wonder if we were just going to have to surrender to the river's will and just lapse back downstream, and what implications that symbolism would have in my life. But as if purpose-bound, we were able to break free from the river's grasp, pick up our remaining passengers, and proceed up the river. Arriving in the little Quichua village, the first figure we saw was the shaman himself, his stocky form perched on a ridge high above the boat-strewn bank. I felt a connection to the shaman right away when I looked deep into his eyes, which were tinted to the same green as the river, likely because of his use of ayahuasca, which was a divine root brewed for visionary and healing purposes. After seeing a cultural display of dancing and drumming in the main gathering hall, I sought him out for his guidance. I found the shell-beaded shaman in his humble structure, his humble dwelling with its thatch triangular roof, similar but smaller than the other buildings that surrounded the village's perfectly square meeting area. Seeing the potential for some clarity on my liminal or suspended state, I set an intention before my time with the shaman by asking myself that one question: what is missing in my life? In that spare dwelling, adorned only with the connection he had to nature, the shaman worked his ancient craft. He shook ruta branches to clear negative energy, and he blew a light vapor cloud of sweet-smelling herbs over me. Nothing could prepare me for the most striking moment at the end, when he placed his mouth on the crown of my scalp and drew an energy right out. It was like a bolt of electricity flashed through me, straight upward from the earth. In that moment, I was dislocated from that simple dwelling and I was cast back to the darkest day of my life, which started out as one of the brightest days of my youth. I was spending part of that summer, as in all my early summers, on a tiny farming island in the middle of the Fraser River. The island didn't have any stores, no real businesses, just farms and fields dotted with livestock. With my cousins, my red-headed cousins who were more like sisters, we were doing what we always did on those long summer days as kids, exploring abandoned barns, sword fighting with sticks, feeding the animals, and harmonizing by the side of the gray rushing river. But I knew that I had gotten too close to the horses and the donkey and the barn cats and the hay that day, and by the time I lay my head on an old down-filled pillow on the farmhouse floor where we decided to camp just for fun, with all its dust and dander and dirt, I knew my breathing was already way too shallow. But I told myself, sleep will help, and in the morning I'll feel better. I was wrong. I awoke at dawn, barely able to get a breath into my body. The family flew into a panic when they saw me trying to breathe. And they helped me down the creaky farmhouse steps around to the rusty station wagon, where we rushed to the dock, and my aunt honked the car horn furiously so that the old tug and barge ferry could make its way as quickly as it could across from the mainland to collect our car and take us back across the river to the mainland side, where we rushed off the dock towards the hospital. By this time, I couldn't breathe at all. And the last thing I remember was my younger cousin in the back seat pleading with me to just hang on. Just hang on. I went into a blackness that was darker than the darkest basement closet or the longest, most remote winter's night. In this unworldly blackness, I was aware of future forms of myself deliberating on the need for my life to continue. It must have been decided that it should, because I did come back, and I woke up after an unknown number of days away in the brightly painted children's ward, where a nurse was telling my mom, "We almost lost him." The shaman's sudden jolt had illuminated this buried recollection, bringing that past day's darkness and this present day's blinding light into sharp alignment. And in answer to the question I'd asked myself about what was missing in my life, a voice from deep within myself shouted these few precious words: "It's spirituality, stupid." Spirituality. Of course, spirituality was a thing that was missing. It had been cast upon me in my young days. When you come so close to dying, it changes you. It alters the way you relate to your body, changes your thinking, gives you an automatic sense of purpose and a new kind of awareness. But in the intervening years, with career and other commitments, that awareness was all but lost. The one breath of the Amazon shaman restored my spirit, and just in time. The youth whom I serve had been asking recently about spirituality and reporting that our outdoor cultural activities were spiritual experiences for them. But I wasn't finding it in myself to field their questions or even make room for that discussion. In fact, I saw that I'd actually been shying away. And now I recognized that I had an opportunity, a real opportunity here. And so, in the wake of these realizations, as dazed, I walked back through the village. And just before we launched that narrow red canoe for a smooth ride down that crystal green river again, I knew what the capstone for my master's program would be. It would focus on youth and spirituality. And now, as I stand before you today, having returned from my academic adventures alive from the Ecuadorian Amazon and beyond, I carry a profound sense of gratitude to Royal Roads for setting the stage for this veritable rebirth. And I hold close the revelation that the shaman brought. And still those few precious words ring in my mind and guide my progress. It's spirituality, stupid. Thank you.